Hello students, today we will see the introduction to the thermal methods. In the previous lecture we have already seen what is the introduction behind the thermal methods, their historical development, then definition of thermal analysis, then we have seen what are the different types of thermal analysis. Now today we will see equilibrium. Next topic, equilibrium. So as we know that what is equilibrium, first of all we should know that equilibrium, it is the condition where there is a no that means the rate of forward reaction as well as the rate of backward reaction becomes equal, then we can say that the reaction is in equilibrium. So the most reaction tends to proceed with equilibrium state. This may be almost completely reactants or almost completely products or any stage in between. At equilibrium, the pressure P and concentration C are more strictly activities, that is, the pressure or concentration corrected for a non-ideal behavior gives an equilibrium constant K, which is fixed for that reaction at that temperature. For example, if you consider nitrate, okay, nitrite when in equilibrium with NO, that is nitrosyl oxide, and oxygen. Here Kp is equals to PNO into PO2 raised to 1 half divided by PNO2 is in equilibrium, which has the value of about 0.04 atmosphere raised to 1 half at 500 Kelvin, where the substances are in their standard states. We may consider their activities as 1, so that for the calcium carbonate reaction, if you consider the reaction of calcium carbonate, we will have to write the reaction as CaCO3 reversibly gives CaO plus CO2, that is calcium oxide plus CO2. We can call it as a lime also. K is equals to A into Ca of A into activity of CO2 divided by activity of CaCO3, which reduces to Kp is equals to P into CO2 when it is in equilibrium. So generally the equilibrium state is in conjunction with the thermodynamic parameters. That's why the second law of thermodynamics deals with the tendency of reactions to proceed. The driving force of a reaction depends on both the enthalpy change delta H and entropy change delta S. The entropy S of a system is related to the W, that is the number of different molecular energy level arrangements of the system, where K is the Boltzmann constant. Therefore, S, that is entropy, is equals to K into ln of W, or rather loosely to the randomness of the system. We can say the entropy is nothing but the randomness or disorderness of the system. Thus, the gases have a high entropies than the regular crystalline solids. Then the third law of thermodynamics states that the entropies of the perfect crystalline solid at 0 Kelvin may be assigned as a 0. Means what? At absolute temperature, the entropy of the pure or perfect crystalline sample is 0. These thermodynamic quantities are combined to give the free energy equation, that is G is equals to H minus Ts. For a process at constant temperature, we can write the equation as delta G is equals to delta H minus T delta S, that is change in the Gibbs free energy is equals to change in the enthalpy minus T into change in the entropy. For a reaction to proceed spontaneously, the free energy must be decreases, so the value of G must be negative. For the reaction at equilibrium, delta G is 0, but standard change in free energy is related to the equilibrium constant by the reaction isotherm equation, that is delta G0, that is standard free energy is equals to minus RT into ln of K, and the variation of K with temperature can be shown to be ln of K is equals to minus delta H0 upon RT. This is known as a Van 't Hoff equation or the reaction isochore, that is plus delta S 0 upon R. Similar equations may be applied to the physical equilibria such as solution, adsorption or vaporization. Then next is kinetic divergence. Chemical reactions occur at a particular rates defined by the rate of change of amount of substance with respect to the time. Often it is more convenient to use quantity related to the amount such as the pressure, concentration, or in case of solid, the fraction related to the alpha. The rate of reaction is defined as the dN by dt and is related to the amounts of reactants by the rate law. Means what? N be the amounts of reactant that will consume with respect to time, that is dN by dt is equals to k into f of n, where k is the rate constant and f of n is the function of amount, that is n. For example, when we consider the random degradation of polymer, we may write the equation as d alpha by dt is equals to k into 1 minus alpha. The rate of reaction varies with temperature chiefly due to Arrhenius condition that species must possess energy in excess of activation energy. E. If the reaction is to be effective. This gives rise to the Arrhenius equation. K is equals to A into exponential of EA upon RT, where A is referred to as a pre-exponential factor and depends on the orientation and structure of the reactor. For most reactions involved in the thermal methods, the rate laws are complex, but it is important to realize that the rate of change will depend very greatly on two factors. So the first one is the amount of substance reacting and the second one is the temperature. So the anything which affect this such as the heat evolved by the exothermic reaction or heat loss of reaction by vaporization will change the rate. It is worth noting that the derivative curve such as a DTG curve indicates the rate of reaction. Now this is the general apparatus for thermal analysis system, where we have the furnace, then we have a sample, then sensor assembly, then inlet and outlet for the gas, then we have inlet for the gas, then we have a thermocouple, temperature programmer, sensor amplifier and data collection, and display recorder or computer. So this is the general outline for the general thermal analysis instrument. So the sample is put into the container or crucible, which is then placed in contact with the sensor, which is to be measure the particular property. A temperature sensor must be present at or very near the sample to follow the temperature as the experiment progresses. The sensor assembly then fits into the special furnace and the atmosphere around the sample is established. This is most important because we may wish to study reactions with air or other reactive gases. The furnace is controlled by temperature programmer and is set by the operator to raise the temperature of the furnace at whatever rate has been chosen as most suitable. The data are collected by the sensor system and processing are displayed on the screen or recorder as a thermal analysis curve. Display recorder and computer is helpful in operation of instrument to make a collection, interpretation, storage of instrumental data to allow the user more easily, accurately to calculate the results. The computer or display recorder is also useful to integrating the peaks in DTA, DSC, the determination of glass transition temperature from DSC or TMA, and the accurate measurement of mass loss in the TG may also be the most easily carried out using computer software. Then what are the different factors that will affect on the thermal analysis results? So there are many analytical method gives the result that is specific to the compound under investigation. For example, infrared spectrum of polystyrene is characteristic of that material and depends little on the sampling method or instrument or the time taken to perform the run. The signal generated by the sensor will depend on the extent and the rate of the reaction or the extent and the rate of change of property measured. The transfer of heat by conduction, convection and by radiation around the apparatus and the interaction of the surroundings with the sample all affect these changes. The main factors which must be considered for every thermal experiment are as follows. So the first one, the sample. The chemical description of the sample should be given. Therefore, with its source and pre-treatments, it is also important to state its purity, chemical composition and formula. If these are known, if these are known, if the sample is diluted with another substances such as an inert reference material, then the composition of the mixture should be given. This diluent can be greatly alter the thermal conductivity of the sample. Then the second one, the crucible. The material of the sample holder or crucible should be stated together with the guide to its geometry. Sample holder are chosen because they will not interact with the sample during the course of the experiment. However, changing from the aluminum to platinum or to silica to alumina may well alter the heat transfer because the different thermal conductivity and possibly chemistry of the process. For example, if a reaction occurs that could be catalyzed by platinum and we are using platinum crucible, then it will cause a certain interferences. Then the second one, the rate of heating. Experiments may be carried out at heating rates from 5 degree to 10 degree, whatever be the rate per minute, that is under isothermal conditions, through the normal rates of 10 Kelvin per minute to very high rates over 100 Kelvin per minute, which are sometimes used to simulate burning of the materials. Similarly, experiments may be conducted with different cooling rates. Since the rates of heat transfer, of physical change and of most reactions are finite, the sample will react differently at different heating rates. The transfer of heat between source such as the furnace and the different parts of the sample or the reference material is not instantaneous but will depend on the conduction, convection and radiation that can occur within the apparatus. The transfer of heat and the chemistry of the sample will depend greatly upon the atmosphere surrounding the sample and its products. So that's why the atmosphere plays an important role in thermal analysis. Even if there is no reaction between the sample and atmosphere, the heat transfer by the gas will affect the results. Consider four gases commonly used in the thermal methods, that is helium, nitrogen, air and carbon dioxide. So ultimately their conductivity, so in case of helium having a conductivity of 17.77, nitrogen having 3.09, air having 3.17 and carbon dioxide having 2.23. The heat transfer by the conduction through helium will be nearly 8 times greater than through the carbon dioxide when the reaction occurs. The nature of the thermal event will change completely. While a metal may be stable in helium, it could be oxidized in air when a chemical equilibrium exists. Then next factor is the mass of the sample. The physical properties, size and the packing or density will alter the results obtained. If very small samples are used, perhaps less than 1 milligram, then the sample produced will be small and the certain cases each crystal may react at different time producing multiple peaks. Very large sample will produce also much greater effect, but if several changes occur, they may not be fully resolved. When we wish to analyze mixture in small amounts of one component need to be detected. For example, a coating of a filler used in a plastic formulation, then large samples may be necessary. Comparison of thermal analysis curve should be done only when comparable sample masses are used. These parameters are important for any thermal analysis experiment and for particular methods. Other details may also be needed as an aid to remembering the five most important parameters. Perhaps the acronyms we have used here, the SCRAM, that is a sample, crucible or sample holder, rate of heating, atmosphere and mass of the sample. Then the next topic is simultaneous and complementary techniques. So generally a single thermal method does not always give the sufficient information to allow the analyst to sure that what is happening. For example, a downward peak produced by the DT experiment means that the endothermic event occurs over the temperature range. So it does not tell you whether this is a chemical reaction or physical change, such as a melting or whether any gases are evolved. So the TG experiment on the same sample may show a mass loss over this temperature range, thereby ruling out a melting but still not identifying any volatiles. Conversely, if the TG curve showed no mass loss, the process of melting could be confirmed by direct observation of the sample. So it is clear that combining several analytical methods gives the better profile of the changes taking place, although we may have to sacrifice the optimum conditions for each separate technique. If two techniques are performed on a different sample or at very different times, then methods are referred as a complementary. If DT experiment is done on the same sample of polymer and TG experiment is done on the second sample of the same polymer, the technique are called as a complementary. While in case of the sample we have used the TGA and DTA experiment at the same time, we can call it as a simultaneous technique. Such a scheme might also involve thermogrammetric experiment from which the solid product is then removed and used to produce the X-ray diffraction pattern. Wherever possible, simultaneous techniques are to be preferred since different samples and different conditions may alter the thermal analysis curve as we have noted. However, optimum conditions may be very different for the two different methods. For example, the highest sensitivity of DT experiment is attained at higher heating rates, while for TG the best resolution is attained at lower heating rates. That's why we have to make the average between these two, means what we have to maintain the rate of heating not higher or not lower than these two, and hence we will get a proper results. So this is all about our first chapter, that is introduction to the thermal methods. Okay, thank you.